What's up, everyone, and welcome to the Corporate Bartender. Do you love public speaking, or does the thought of getting up on stage in front of a crowd just make you freak out? Well, if you're in the latter camp, we've got you covered today. We've got Linda Ugelow on the program. Don't know Linda? Stick around. She's a speaking confidence coach, keynote speaker, podcast host, and author of Delight in the Limelight, Overcoming Your Fears of Being Seen and Realize Your Dreams. This book is what it says it is. It's a book about overcoming your fear about public speaking, but it's so much more. This is a book about shifting your mindset and being an ally to yourself. So even if you love public speaking or never plan on doing it in your life, this book and this conversation just might change your life. This was a banger conversation, one of my favorites of 2025 thus far, and I know you're going to dig it. So buckle up, TCBers, grab your favorite cocktail, and let's get right on into it with Linda Ugelow on today's TCB.
Welcome to SkyTeam's The Corporate Bartender, where we gather some of the best HR and people leaders to discuss what's happening on the people side of business. Now pull up a stool, belly up to the bar, and join us for The Corporate Bartender.
Welcome, everybody. It's Wednesday. You know what that means. It's your favorite day and mine. It's Corporate Bartender Day. It is the 26th of February. 2/12 of the year are completed, Ruby, and that means it's almost Christmas again. It is the 218th time that we have convened this group of amazing people. I was going through the deck today and I was feeling a little nostalgic, so I brought back one of the old slides.
Cheers.
I miss this girl. Bar is open, everybody. Before we get into our conversation and our guest and our topic today, I just wanted to do a little bit of reconnection, just a quick reconnect, because I'm wondering, with all of the noise in the world today and over the last couple of months, if you thought it was a noisy world before, it is a noisier world today. Is anybody struggling with focus?
Heck yeah.
Me.
Yeah. What are you doing to deal with that? The predilection to doom scroll versus getting productive. How are you getting out of your own brain and getting yourself to focus? Do we have any tips, tricks, or tools to share with focus?
I am fast forwarding either to the article I need to write, articles, or the Harvard Business School's case studies that are going to emerge for classes in the future. And I'm going to leave it at that.
I like it. I like it.
I had to silence all of the notifications on any news source that I had because just the chime on my Apple Watch was creating anxiety.
Yeah. It's a lot. What about you, Ruby?
For me, I've been purposely stopping social media most of the time, and definitely at certain times a day. It's funny because like I'm in a routine of like before I go to bed, oh, let me just look, and it's like I literally have had to stop and say no, and I've been pretty good about it. Like done, yeah. So boundaries.
Boundaries. I love it.
I've also had to double down on the to-do list in more micro fashion instead of general categories. It's like, nope, I need like literal task list here to not get distracted off into the crazy.
I love it. And jumping ahead before we even introduce you, Linda, what do you got in terms of regaining focus when you struggle with it?
Well, I've just brought back meditation after stopping for a while.
Beautiful.
I love it. Well, it's interesting. Me, I'm a learner. I'm an input guy. I like to try a bunch of different stuff. And I had the opportunity recently to try a supplement. It's called Magic Mind. And I don't know if you guys know about this. This is what it looks like. It is a mental performance elixir. So it's a mental performance shot. It's something to help get you focused, get mentally clear, be motivated, productive, reduce your stress. I mean, it sounds like a panacea, right? It's like everything. It's a cool thing. I've been using it for a little while and I like it. I've been struggling with focus and I needed something to change the game. So I tried this and, I'll be honest with you. It was a thing that I had heard about. I had heard people on other podcasts talking about it. And they reached out to me and said, hey, do you want to try this and maybe talk about it? And I was like, well, I got to try it first. And they sent me some. So I tried it and I really liked it. And I told the person from the company, I said, look, I don't know if it's placebo effect or whatever, but I notice a difference. And then I started doing my research and I was like, is it safe? Like, what's in it? It is safe. It's been third-party tested. It's doctor validated, but it's not like 5-hour energy or something where you take it and boom, the effects happen. It's a thing that you have to kind of build up over time. It takes a couple of goes before the effect starts to kick in. It is not a coffee replacement, but it goes in addition to whatever your morning routine looks like. So it's a cool thing. I like it. I like the effects of it. I like what I've learned about it. I like the company. The company gives back 5 cents from each bottle. Goes back to mental health charities, and they're 100% carbon neutral. And if you don't like it, no questions asked. You get 100 days to send it back for 100% refund. Now, Lori and I have a thing that we've never had before. We have a code. So if you are interested in it, knowing that it's pretty cool and there's no risk here, and you want to go check it out, you can go to magicmind.com and type in the code Eric and Lori 20. I know, right? I mean, come on. Let's just dance a little bit to Eric and Lori 20 because that's just a cool thing. So magicmind.com, Eric and Lori 20. I'll say that again at the end. And I'll put that in the show notes below so you can find it. But I wanted to say that. Thanks for indulging me in the focus discussion. Let's get into today's episode. We've got a guest, as I like to say. She's the person that you do not recognize in your Brady Bunch view. Her name is Linda Ugelow, and I will tell you more about her after we do a little bit of housekeeping, because I want you to know who's on the docket and when we're not going to be here. And the dark days ahead will be March 12th. Because of travel, we will not be here that day. We've got some guests upcoming. March 5th, that's next week, we've got Robin Bolton, a returning TCBer, because her new page 2 book has just launched called Unlocking Innovation, a leader's guide for turning bold ideas into tangible results. On March 19th, we have Therese Miclot, and she is the co-author of a book called The Facilitation Advantage: How to Drive Impact, Build Relationships, and Lead with Influence. That's going to be a fun one. But today it's all about Linda. And Linda, we didn't talk about it, but this is right in your wheelhouse. We like to dance people onto the show. So let's give Linda a warm TCB welcome, shall we? There it is. There it is. Linda, thanks for being here with us today.
Yes.
Well, Linda, we always like to start with a little bit of an origin story, find out a little bit about your journey and how you got here, because I don't imagine this is what you intended to be when you started life. So tell us a little bit about how it started and how it's going.
What started for me, as soon as I could walk, I wanted to dance. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's the truth for lots of little kids, because, you put on music and they all bop around. That was me. And my mom was a dancer. She loved to dance. And she had all of us, at least my older sisters, got to take dance lessons, and I was too young. In fact, I think my first memory was her sticking me in the corner of a dance room where she was taking a jazz class. And I still remember the piece of music. It was by Dave Brubeck, something called the Unsquare Dance. And it's this indelible memory of this like syncopated movement that they did. And I think I was hooked. I think it just hooked me in. And that's all I wanted to do growing up was dance. I was very, very quiet. And I expressed myself through, the weekly classes. It started, I think, probably with something called Dacro's Eurythmics. That's when someone plays a piano and you fly around the room and you kind of act out different things, or you dance and then the music stops and you stop and then it plays again and you run and then it stops. So it's a way of learning about music through movement. That graduated into little ballet classes and then into jazz, and then later on, modern dance. My mom was a modern dancer. She had danced with Martha Graham in New York City, and to me, that was the ultimate of dance. Until college, I took a summer program up here in Boston, where I live now, at Tufts, and it was a dance therapy class. And I just thought it looked interesting, but this rocked my world because suddenly dance wasn't about, choreography and performing. It was about the inner experience. So we would get different kinds of movement prompts to explore, because in dance you would have, you have speed and you have angle and you have direction and you have quality. And every time that we'd go in there, she would have us explore different things by ourselves, and then with pairs, and then with a group, and then we would journal, and then we'd talk about it. And it was like, whoa, what is this stuff? I was 17, I think, at the time. So this was so foundational for me. In fact, I still feel like what I do today is very, very much based on that early experience. So this is what I decided I was going to do, was to explore teaching movement. But I didn't want to teach, jazz or ballet. I mean, I wasn't even that great at those things, but I was really good at helping people kind of like get comfortable in their skin and use movement to explore their feelings and interact with each other and learn about what felt like comfortable or uncomfortable interaction. Like if we explored getting close and moving away, and can you stay in connection when you're far away, and how, all those interesting things.
Cool.
I decided in graduate school to create a independent study in an expressive arts therapy program up here in Boston at what's now Lesley University. And I studied something called authentic movement, which is moving with your eyes closed and kind of listening into your body and seeing, where does my body want to move? Where's the impulse to move? So rather than at all thinking about what should I do, it's letting the body decide what to do. And then your mind is just kind of watching a movie. It's like, ooh, what's happening with my hands? What are they doing? Now my arms or my elbows. What's happening there? So it's kind of like an unfolding of the unconscious. If you think of the body as an unconscious, it's like letting it come into consciousness. But here's the kicker. You had someone witnessing you.
Oh,
so that added this level of...
It's terrifying, Linda. It's terrifying.
Of, oh my gosh, I'm being seen, I'm being witnessed. Now you've got to understand that the person who's witnessing is not witnessing for judgment or evaluation, but they're holding space. So you are in yourself holding a place of, I like to call unconditional friendliness to the self. I think was that Maslow or one of the early psychologists, or not, it's a long term for non-judgment. And if you're witnessing, you're also in that place of non-judgment, but just holding space. So knowing that it was safe, you were free to explore what is it like to be seen. In fact, I remember we used to have blankets in the room, And sometimes I cover myself completely in a blanket and I would like move underneath where no one could see me. And then I would get really hot and then I'd throw it off and I go, okay, here I am. Here's me. But it's all nonverbal. And then afterwards,
So much symbolism there.
Exactly. It was so rich. And we'd have like art materials and we'd draw. And I thought, oh, I'm a painter. And then we'd write poetry or write words. And I go, oh, I'm a writer. And it was almost as if going into the body and letting the body move first, it was like going into the source of creativity.
Wow.
So it was so deep and it was so simple. And this is what I decided to study in my master's degree. So I wrote a manual on it. And I had a mentor who said, I don't think you should publish this. And I went, oh, okay, I won't. Never even like questioning, why did someone say that to me?
Yeah.
Why would someone say, don't do this? I mean, the reason why she gave me is she didn't think that I should be teaching people how to do this themselves, because this work should be done with only people who are like certified or qualified and all
it's
this
a revenue
stuff.
stream.
Yeah. And I have to say I'm pretty much a rebel when it comes to that. I'm about empowering people to change themselves. But I have to say it still is unpublished. It's still something that I think maybe one day I'll publish this. It's been over 2 decades, maybe 3 decades now. Anyway, that's my origin story. I quit teaching dance because my father always called me up every week and he said, how much money are you making?
Oh, I'm a musician, Linda, and I have the same father.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you know it then. And then he passed away. And after about a year after he passed, I said, you know what? Who am I trying to prove this to? You know, I'm not making money. I'm not being able to support myself. I don't know squat about running a business. This isn't working. I'm just going to let it go for now. And so I did. Now, luckily, around the same time, I had joined a women's world music group. So I was performing on stage, music from all over the world, learning music from different countries and learning dance from other countries.
Oh, I'm going to ask you about that later.
Yeah. I have a feeling I know what the question's going to be. So I did have a place to kind of express myself movement-wise, even though I wasn't teaching, even though it was like it was for performance rather than, for personal development for the most part. But I think what you're going to ask me about is actually a crossover spot. So I'm looking forward to that. But I kind of was wandering in the wilderness career-wise for a long time after that. I just didn't know what to do. So I am somebody who, I at some point I got really into organic farming and gardening first. And
there's a couple of stories in the book about that
there's
too.
A couple of stories in the book. Yeah, it's an introvert's paradise to work in a field and just kind of weed onions all by yourself. And that's what I was doing when the book opens, actually. When the book opens, and I was listening to an online business course. And it was about start the right business. And I thought, holy shit, I'm in the wrong business. All of a sudden, I had this memory that had been lying dormant for like 15 years. Like I always wanted to make a big impact.
Yeah.
And here I was hiding behind the kale.
Literally hiding behind the kale.
Literally. I was growing vegetables for local restaurants, specialty vegetables. It was fun, but it wasn't the impact. And I had at that point, I thought, I don't even know what impact means. Is it the dance work that I used to do? Is it something else? But
I have questions about specialty vegetables.
Okay.
Like, is that a rutabaga? What is a specialty vegetable?
A specialty vegetable is something that you don't find in the supermarket.
Okay.
So now a lot of my specialty vegetables are found in the supermarket. So I'm actually really glad I got out when I did because I was growing baby kale and baby collards and lettuce mixes with different colors and different kinds of lettuce. You never found that in the supermarket before. And it was a lot of work to clean out all the icky leaves from there. But it's also, I would let the arugula go to flower, and then I would sell the arugula flowers or the kale broccoli flowers. I would, a lot of, bags of mint, microgreens. Microgreens are everywhere now, but at that time, I was one of the only people in my area growing them. I grew them in my house. Let's see what else. Carrots of different colors. You can get carrots of different colors at Whole Foods now. So that's what I mean. Like, I'm so glad that I'm not competing with the commodity of all this food anymore. But it was fun for a few years until I realized it's not what I was meant to be doing, because I wanted to make an impact. And I had this feeling that I have no idea what it is, but if I didn't start getting on my way to figure that out, I would get to the end of my life and I'd feel regret.
So what was the thing you were meant to do?
Well, it took me a while to figure it out. Right now, it's what I'm doing now, for one. I don't know if this is the last thing, but it's what I feel like it definitely fulfills my desire and my dream of making an impact, because speaking confidence is something that so many people struggle with. And I struggled with for decades. And once I got on the other side, I thought, oh my God, this is so much better. This feels so good. And all of a sudden, things that I wouldn't even consider doing, I started to do, and it was no big deal. I would never get on podcasts. I would never get up on stage to speak. I would never, build an online business in the way I've done now. Build a TikTok following. I just would never have done that because I had a lot of stuff that was holding me back.
I love it. So you are a speaking confidence coach. You're a speaker. You run a podcast, and you wrote a book. And I'm just going to put the picture back up here, because the picture on the cover of your book is one of my favorite pictures on covers of books, because you look so just immersed in happiness. Like, there's joy right there in that photo.
I know. I love that photo. And when I saw that photo, I did a photo shoot with somebody who I had seen someone else's photos. They had like a website, and they had 5 photos of themselves with different like expressions. And I thought, I want that. And I happened to be going out to that particular coach's workshop, 3-day workshop out in California. And I emailed her and I said, who did your photos? And she said, oh, that's Caroline Photography. I said, where does she live? She said, oh, really nearby me. I went, no kidding. So I went out for this workshop, and I hired this
booked a photo shoot.
Photographer. Caroline White is her name. And she did this whole series of me kind of like dancing around. And when I saw this, I said, I've got to save that for a special spot.
Nice.
And I'm so glad it found a special spot.
It's a fantastic photo. So good job, Caroline Photography. That's fantastic. Let's talk a little bit about this book, right? So we kind of know where you came from and how you got to be where you are. What inspired you to write the book?
Oh, it's because when I got over my fear of speaking, and I did it in my own way, I kind of like created I did it with the tools that I had, and it worked. And then when I looked around online to see, is anyone else talking about this? There was nobody else talking about it. And I thought, well, I've got to write a book then, because this worked for me. And I know so many other things that I tried didn't work. And I know so many other people are trying all those other things that didn't work for me, and they're not working for them either. And I want to give them an alternative. I want to give them a way through to get to the other side so they can delight in the limelight. So all of a sudden, I just felt incredibly passionate. It's like speaking is our human design. And if there's someplace we don't feel good about it, let's figure out why. Because this is our life, and communication is so fundamental to our experience of life. And let's find a way to make it feel like it should be feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love the book. And I want to say, sort of at the outset of the book discussion, I know she's a speaking confidence coach, and the book's called Delight in the Limelight. But though it presents as a speaking confidence kind of book, it's bigger than that. Even if you have no desire to be a speaker, if you just have to speak with people, if you just have to speak with yourself, I think you get value out of this book. It's a mindset shift book. There's a chapter in the book called Reset Your Mindset. This is about shifting how we think about ourselves, about getting out of our own heads, about overcoming the imposter syndrome that we all have, about overcoming the negative self-talk that we all practice. And Linda, TCB people know I love frameworks, and your book is built on a 3-part framework. So tell us a little bit about the framework and how the pieces fit together.
The first part of the framework is reveal and heal. Reveal the root causes, and then clear them away, because it's not enough to know, oh yeah, Mother Mary in Catholic school rapped my knuckles when I didn't know 5 times 7.
It's 35, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Can't resist.
We also have to do something with that memory. We can't let it lie and cause havoc, because you might want to ignore the things that happen to you, but they don't ignore you. They follow you around. So revealing the root causes and clearing them away. Because here, this is how I think of it. To be confident and comfortable when you speak, you need to be present. And when you've got stuff from the past that was not so good or not so helpful in you being able to feel comfortable articulating yourself, expressing yourself, believing that your words deserve to be heard, that's going to pull you away from the present moment. So this is the stuff from the past. It's got to go.
So
the second, yeah.
So is there, because I know that's such the common point. Like first you come to the self-awareness of their stuff, right? Like just admitting that, oh, there's crap in there. Right?
Step
so
one of the 12-step program.
Right. So, but then the healing part, right? The let it go, don't let it control you, right? Make those choices. That's so hard. So what did you find, and I don't want to derail the whole thing because I want to hear the framework, but I would love to come back and hear, like, what's the technique to the healing part? Because if you can name it and then you get stuck there,
yeah.
that's really frustrating too.
Right. Well, I think that it is important. And what you name actually is also important, because I realize that there are a lot of things that can impact our speaking confidence that haven't even occurred to us. Mm-hmm. So I do want to get into that, but I wonder if we should just put out the framework first, and then we can go back.
Perfect. Yes.
Okay. So the second part, reveal and heal is the first part. The second part is restore safety. Now, safety is external, but it's also internal. And the internal is what I focus on, not exclusively, but very much so, because we may be worried what other people think of us, but we can be our own harshest judge. Oof. And the tricky part of it is that our inner voice sounds so familiar to us that we don't even realize when it's being mean, because it sounds...
Well, we're so used to it.
We're so used to it. Exactly. So that's why, like in my Delight in the Limelight Accelerator, we have a pillar called Comfy on Camera, inside of which we have a week that's called Watch Yourself on Video Without Cringing.
Oh,
And the reason why, well, the beauty of this is that it's a great way to hear what your inner voice is saying. Because if you watch yourself on video, oh my gosh, so easy to figure out all the things you don't like about what you see.
oh yeah.
And once you can hear, you bring them out and you write them down, then you can work with them. So that's why I like that, because it gives us an opportunity to actually hear what we've got going on in our heads. Once you get used to listening to the inner voice, then you can question it. For instance, when I was writing my book, I had this repeating thought, Linda, you're so slow. And I wondered,
Because you have a baseline of how books should be written and how quickly that should go down.
Exactly. And I was thinking, okay, does that mean is that just, fact? I am slow because I am slow? Or is this a put down? And then, so what I like to do is I use my daughter, or you can use someone who's dear to you. And I said it out loud with her name, Lexi, you're so slow.
Ouch.
Exactly. But I couldn't tell at first. I couldn't tell for a long time. And then finally I said, put it through what I call the best friend test. Say it out loud with that person's name. If you wouldn't say it to them, you don't say it to yourself. And we can go into more about that later, because I said I wanted to finish the framework. So that's number 2, is restore safety, because if you don't feel safe in yourself, you won't feel safe in front of others.
So we've got reveal and heal and restore safety.
Right. Repattern your habits, I think of as a fancy term for learning new tricks.
Old dogs, new tricks.
Right. Because once you have these things cleared away and your brain kind of reorganized, then you're able to learn new things. You're able to learn new skills. For instance, I'll use myself as an example. Since I was afraid to speak in public, it affected how I stood. It affected how I breathed, and it affected
like even when you weren't speaking?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
No. If I was dancing, I had a different feeling in my body. I had a different experience of embodiment.
Got it.
But when I spoke, I had a habit of how I present myself, how I express myself. You could hear it in the sound of my voice. It was constricted. I had a way of breathing when I spoke. I would go into like monotone. I would have a certain cadence. I had a certain volume. So now I just want to say, by illustration, I've taken, because I was in a Women's World Music Group for 40 years, I was taking concurrently voice lessons every single week. For various reasons, my confidence in singing plummeted over the course of those 40 years because things that happened to me. Mm-hmm. And even though I was taking these voice lessons, and sometimes twice a week with 2 different teachers, I wasn't able to hold my voice steady. I wasn't able to hit high notes that were within my range with confidence. I just couldn't do it. But once I decided to follow my own advice and clear the fear, reveal and heal, and work on my inner mindset, suddenly I was able to do those things that just were out of my range all those decades, because it's hard to get over the hump in order to learn new ways of being, especially when it's about breath, which is so, it's
key to life.
Our sense of safety. Key to life and key to feeling like you need to feel safe to breathe easy.
Yes. Otherwise you shallow breathe, you hyperventilate, you don't breathe deep, and like
Yes.
sit in that moment.
Yes, and just relax and being on camera, get comfy on camera. This was one of my big joys once I got over my fear that I could feel comfy on camera. I could relax on cameras. Finally, after working at it, but couldn't do it until I did this piece of work, the foundational work of clearing the fear.
So let's dig into that because in the book there's a story, because you just said, like, we do this, and especially now in a post-pandemic world, we're on camera all the time, and practice isn't always enough. Like, just doing it over and over and over again doesn't do anything to quell the fear, right? Mm-hmm. You had what you call in the book a duh moment.
Yes, my duh moment.
What is the duh moment?
My duh moment happened on Periscope. Periscope was this app that came out in 2015, and it was the first live streaming app. All the marketing gurus said, this is going to change the online space forever. And I guess we could say it has made a huge impact. And they also said, get on now as an early adopter, and you got to get on daily to build your following. So here I was, very new in my coaching business, and I thought, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get on daily. I'm going to build a following. I'm going to be an early adopter. What they didn't tell me was how terrifying it would be, because so this is an app. We hear a lot about the algorithm. Yeah. This was an app with no algorithm. What it had was a map of the world, and if somebody was going to broadcast, a little light lit up, and you could say, oh, who's that speaking in Boston? Oh, who's that person in Texas or in France or in Turkey? And anyone could just come on.
You could just click it and watch whatever was happening.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you got on, you press broadcast, and all of a sudden all these people would come on, and you saw the places that they came on from. And as I would watch people come on from all these places, I felt like I was like my soul was rising out of my body. I became completely disembodied, and I would start to hyperventilate, and my heart was racing, and I had no idea what I said. And then I would end it, and I go, phew. Then I go to Google and I say, how to get over my fear. And I'd say, okay, kicks and punches. So I would do kicks and punches the next day, and I'd get on. And then the same thing would happen. And I go, okay, phew, what else can I do? Meditation. Okay, meditation. Next day, power poses. Yeah. What else? Power poses, deep breathing, dancing. I reframe the fear. This isn't fear. This is excitement. It's not about you. It's about the audience. hashtag do it scared.
I'm guessing it didn't work.
Oh, really? What did so on and on. I figured, okay, that's all right. I can do an hour-long ritual to get onto Periscope for 5 or 10 minutes. By the way, what I was talking about, how to de-stress your life. And here I am, totally stressed. Totally stressed.
Oh, that's from the irony department right there.
Imposter syndrome there. So, but I figured, you know what? Everyone says after a few weeks, you'll be fine. So I kept on going. And the weeks went by. I didn't really notice. I got to week 10, day 75. I'm about to press broadcast.
Still
and
not
I realize
fine.
My heart's pounding. Mm-hmm. And I think, what gives? Like, how many times? 75? 175? 370? I mean, what will be the number where I finally feel okay? I was showing up by managing the fear. But I realized I don't want to manage the fear. I just want to it's a lot of work. I just want to get rid of it. And I decided that's what I was going to do.
All right. So how did you do it?
So I made a long list of all the tools that I knew. I knew things like EFT and creative visualization and focusing and forgiveness and just things that I had gathered over the years. Yeah. And It turned out to be a pretty long list. I wonder if I still have that list. That would be really, really interesting to look at. Before I decided to try these things all out, I wanted to find out, well, what was this fear anyway?
Yeah, what's going on
Why
underneath?
is there fear?
What is going on? So, and this actually was one of the tools called focusing, where you feel it inside your body and you ask questions. So I said, okay, if the fear could talk, what would it say? And I closed my eyes, and what came back was, you're going to be attacked. I thought, okay, well, is that,
Interesting.
cellular memory being chased on the Serengeti by the saber-toothed tiger kind of a thing? Or should I be looking at my life?
Yeah, because
And
it
I-
was even worse, wasn't it, Linda, than saber-toothed tigers?
I had two saber-toothed tigers, as it turned out. They were my
Saber-toothed
two older
sisters.
sisters. Yes, my two older sisters who used to chase me around the dining room table. They'd kick me in the shins. They'd say, shut up, call me stupid. When would they do this? Anytime my mother put me in the center of attention. Boom. That was duh. Of course, I'm not comfortable being the center of attention because I learned it could be dangerous.
Yeah, you'll get hurt.
And then I realized not just hurt, but I would lose my sister's love. And I was the baby sister. I wanted my sisters to love me, and they hated me.
When your
And I
mom did make it
hated that.
easier when she said, can't you girls be more like Linda?
I know. My mom was a piece of work. I've got to say to you, just a little side. When I first wrote the book, my book writing coach, AJ Harper, said, Linda, you got too many mom stories in the book.
You're like, that's indicative of who I am, AJ.
So I cut half of them out. And then when I handed the manuscript to page 2, they said, I think you have a couple of too many stories of your mom in the book. So I had to cut it down more. So now I think I've got to do a comedy bit with my mom's stories.
Wow.
So, yeah, so that was when I realized, okay, maybe this fear of speaking stuff, at least for me, I wasn't kind of generalizing it to anyone else yet. Maybe I've got other stuff there because this seems to be not about what's going on now, because people are generally nice. I mean, I'm not in competitions. I'm not in the political, purview. I'm in, with people who are wanting to learn, and, they're basically nice people.
Basically.
I mean, they're trolls. They're trolls. I mean, on Periscope, if you ever took a Periscope class, you learned how to deal with trolls because they're always trolls.
Yeah.
You just learn how to talk and block at the same time. So I realized, okay, what else could there be? Oh, yes, that time that I injured myself in that dance performance. Oh, yes, that time that my teacher in college embarrassed me in front of the whole class. Oh, that time in 7th grade when all the girls decided nobody talked to Linda, and they didn't for 7 days. Or
Which in 7th grade years is forever.
It's forever. It was forever. And not only was it forever, that it impacted me for decades, because after that, I felt people don't like me. People don't want to hear what I have to say. I'm not one of the, cool kids. And this really does impact whether or not we feel like we deserve to be heard. If you're on the outside, you don't feel like you have a place at the table.
Yeah. You're like, who am I?
Who am I? Who am I to take up this time?
Yes.
Other people, those people are cooler. They're more interesting. They're good at it. All that stuff.
Yeah.
So
I don't even know what the hell I want to be. I'm still trying to figure that out. And I'm out here trying to convince people to listen to me, right? I mean, we all have that. We all have that inner critic, right?
Yes.
And you talk about transforming that inner critic to becoming what you call an inner ally. Like, tell us a little bit about that process.
Yeah. So that process, I feel like do you know Eat, Love, Pray woman, Elizabeth Gilbert?
Oh, yeah.
Loved her book, Big Magic. Loved, loved, loved it, except for one chapter, which I highly disagreed with. And it was her chapter about the inner critic. She talks about, don't listen to that inner critic, put it in the backseat of the car, don't let it near the dials of the radio. And I'm thinking, you know what?
Still there.
It's still there. And maybe the inner critic is wounded too.
Oh, interesting.
Maybe the inner critic is not part of our human design. The reason why that thought even came into my head is because when, let's see, John Holt was like the father of something called unschooling. And I got very deeply into this idea of homeschooling my child after I finished college because I thought, well, that sucked. And and the best experience in college was when they told me, oh, you don't have enough credits in languages, so you've got to get one more credit. And I said, well, my last semester is already started. What do I do? They said, do an independent study. I went, what's that? And they said, oh, you just find a teacher, you decide what you're going to do, and you do it. I went, why didn't they tell me this earlier? I would have done all of college this way. And that's what unschooling is about. It's like following your interests and encouraging kids to follow their interests with the idea that you learn best when you're interested in something.
It's like the Montessori idea.
It kind of like that, yes. So he's not the only one who talks about that. So he recommended a book called The Continuum Concept. I know I'm going in a circle, but I'm coming back. The Continuum Concept tells the story of these Italian folks and guys and one British woman who for some reason was following them around. I think she must have had a relationship with one of them. And they went to the Amazon to connect with this tribe that had very little outside exposure. And she became fascinated with this group of people because she realized she didn't see any evidence of unhappiness in the children.
Whoa.
Any. And she thought, I've got to figure out what are they doing. So she wrote this book called The Continuum Concept, which I read. And the impact of it in this setting was that it made me realize those kids did not have an inner critic. I am sure, which tells me that it is not part of our human design. The inner critic comes out of our culture.
So we learn it.
We learn it. We learn it. I remember, I don't know about you more, is it Lori and I can't see one of my classes, Ruby. I remember being 11 years old and a group of girls standing, looking at their legs and saying, oh, my thighs are fat. Oh, you've got a space between your thighs. And all of a sudden, I thought, oh, I'm supposed to start dissing on myself about my legs being fat. And I started to do that. It's like I learned it.
Yeah.
And I think we do learn these things, but we also, I think, internalize criticism from the outside. So, you know, mom saying, why an A- and not an A+? It's like, oh, I got to be perfect. If I'm not perfect, or I can go off on a school rant, but school, so many bad rules in school, which is why it was good I homeschooled, at least for a little while. And the biggest, before the program, we were talking about the conformity issue in school that Lori brought up. But another really damaging one is how we get graded the highest for making the fewest mistakes.
Yeah.
Because
we learn more by making mistakes.
Exactly. And they tell us that, but they don't live that. That's not what they do.
Well, it's too hard to do with a bunch of kids. It's too hard to do with a bunch of adults. So we take the simple path.
Yep,
Yeah.
the simple path. And it's so damaging, so damaging. I don't think I ever have had a client who isn't afraid, deathly afraid of making a mistake when they speak.
Yeah. But,
And it's
Linda,
understandable.
I totally get it. You mentioned this in the book about dancing. And as a musician, it totally resonated with me. There's a time in the book where you mentioned something like, just keep dancing, right? Like if you fuck it up, it's fine. Just keep dancing.
Stride purposefully is what I call it.
I stride purposefully. And every band I've ever played with, we've had some form of this conversation. If during a song, somebody fucks something up, just keep playing.
You just keep playing.
Don't call attention to it. Don't throw your arms up. Don't have a fit. Just keep playing.
Yep.
Because 99% of the time, people didn't even notice it happened.
No, but your inner critic goes, you suck.
Yeah. Or it was a little blip that they've forgotten because you're still engaging them in the, continuation of the song. Yeah.
Yes. They might notice it, but then they're back in the groove when you're back in the groove. So it's not an issue. So I do want to circle back because I don't think I answered the question about the inner critic and how you heal it. Mm. So, but the point that was several loops around saying that I don't believe that we should be trying to silence the inner critic. I think we should go for healing the inner critic. So my belief is that the inner critic actually probably, this is my own theory. I haven't done any studies around this, but my theory, Linda's theory, is that we have a part of ourself that is discerning. Mm. It's kind of like in positive psychology, there is a virtue that Martin Seligman talks about that is the judge, but the judge, the fair judge, like the Solomon in the Bible kind of a judge, not the critical judge. So there is that part of us that does evaluate. So going back to watch yourself on video without cringing, once you have your list of things that you don't like in your video, some things might be, I don't like my teeth, or I don't like the shape of my nose, or I don't like my eyes are too close set, or those things you can't change.
I don't like any of those things, Linda. So just for the record.
We can't change any of those things. So we learn to honor them. We learn to honor them through the function. Like, oh, my nose. Let's take my nose, because my nose was something that my mom thought I should change. She thought I should get a nose job.
Oh, Mom.
Right? So I resisted her, but at the same time, it made me incredibly self-conscious for most of my life.
Right?
Until I thought, you know what? I love people with this nose. I have people who I adore with this nose. That makes me adorable from other people.
There it is.
Second thing, my husband suffers with being able to breathe through his nose. My nose is awesome.
It is a breathing machine.
It is a breathing machine. I love how my nose allows me to breathe. And I have a friend who doesn't smell fragrance. I can smell the flowers. I can smell the coffee. So these are the ways that we learn to honor and accept those things that cannot be changed. Number two, the things that we can change. Okay, I didn't like the way my voice squeaked. I don't like the tension in my voice. I don't like how I lift my chin up all the time. These are things that can be changed. So what we do is we engage the inner critic who said these things, and we say, okay, so you don't like how I lift up my chin. What do you suggest I do? And then listen to it as a support. Oh, well, how about you do a little Feldenkrais thing and think about stretching your spine up. Oh, that sounds good. What else? Oh, well, why don't you make a video and talk and just think about your posture? Okay, what else? And so you can go on in that direction. By the way, I adapted this from Jack Canfield, his success principles.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
I don't know if he used it in the same way. I think he might have said the inner coach, and he might have had a slightly different process. But the idea is that we can shift this part of our inner voices or inner parts to be an ally, to be on our side. Because what use is it if we want to do something that feels hard? Why do we want to work against ourselves? We want to be on the same team going towards the same goal.
Yeah.
We don't want some part of us pushing back. So engage that inner voice, which was a critic. And in our program, we actually rename it. Some people say, oh, my inner fairy godmother, or my inner wise one, or
It's Ruby's
my
inner mermaid.
Yeah, my inner mermaid. We can name it whatever it is, and then we engage it more. We develop it because, we're comfortable thinking about, oh, I can become a better communicator with my partner, with my colleagues, as a leader, but we can also become a better communicator with ourselves. And I think that's what this is about. Yeah.
Linda, I mean, come on. This has been fantastic. Tell us where to find out more about you, where to get the book, and if we want to engage you, how do we go about doing that?
Well, I do have a free download called the Speaker Preparation Checklist, because I think that people get lost in what they want to say and they forget about the things that they can do to be grounded, focused, and energized when they speak, whether it's a meeting that you have coming up or a hard conversation, or you're getting on social media, or you have a talk on the stage. And that is at lindaugelow.com. Ugelow is how my last name is spelled. lindaugelow.com/rituals. Otherwise, Linda Ugelow will get to me on all the social media platforms.
There's
as
not
well
a
as
lot
my
of
website.
Linda Ugelows out there.
Not a lot there. No, no.
Awesome. Well, Ruby just chimed in. She has to go to yoga. So she said, thank you, Linda. I have appreciated this conversation so much. This is really good work. So helpful for many people. Lori, anything you want to say to cap off this conversation? Because I could go another hour.
Yeah, I agree with what you said in the beginning, Eric, about there's this sort of kind of tactical implication of I can become a better public speaker through reading this or learning about this, and underneath it all is so much more heart and soul about understanding why you're afraid and understanding that you can turn your inner critic into an ally, and all of those things that are so life-giving in all realms, and when you're able to speak and be in front of people and communicate effectively, but just everything else, it's gonna make a big difference too. So that's awesome. Love it.
Yeah. Linda, you know what it's like running a podcast. You do the same thing. You read a lot of books. There's not a lot of books that I'm going to suppose there's not a lot of books that you read where you read them and you think, okay, this is a book about X. And then you read it and you go, oh God, this is way bigger than X. Mm-hmm. This is a book about life. This is a book about being a human being. And that's a rarity. So congratulations. It's a fantastic
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. Again, thank you for being here. Fantastic conversation. Like I said, I could have gone for another hour, but it's getting close to dinner time and we need to do our end of show ritual. So we're going to get into our funny things, our good feels, and our silly cocktail. Take us about 5 minutes. Funny things that made Eric laugh on the internet this week. Funny thing number 1, this is a bus in Hawaii. And it says, apparently in Hawaii, if you let a bus merge ahead of you, the driver can push a button that flashes the hang loose sign where I assume the route number goes on that bus. It's got a little hang loose there.
That's great.
Funny thing number 2, it's a little risque, but if you grew up in the 80s, this will resonate. This is a calculator watch that has the code boobies on it.
It's an older.
There's a picture of an Imperial soldier who says it's an older code, sir, but it still checks out.
Never gets old.
Never gets old. This was for Ruby, so I'm sad she's not here. So climbers were climbing the highest peak in Poland. And when they got to the top, they found a cat at the summit.
Hey.
That's amazing.
Aw.
Oh, funny thing number 4. Hope someone says this about me one day. This is a memorial plaque on a bench. It says for Barbara, who was awful when hungry, but otherwise pretty solid.
That's keeping it real.
Keeping it real. Speaking of keeping it real, Lori, this is how I make permanent life choices, unfortunately. It's a screenshot of an Xbox Live set up your online name and a picture of the person's lunch. And the person's holding a lunch that says chicken salad, $5.20. And their online name is now chicken salad, $5.20. My favorite funny thing this week is a nod to Severance, which I learned today has eclipsed Ted Lasso as the most watched show on Apple TV.
Whoa.
And I started Severance season 2 yesterday. So this is really funny to me. It's a picture of Adam Scott from Severance. It says Adam Scott looks like someone tried to draw Tom Cruise from memory.
You're right.
That's funny.
Today's good feel story, you know what it is. It's Steve Hartman doing Steve Hartman things.
In tonight's On the Road, Steve Hartman answers the question, can a man who works in a museum have works in the museum?
Come on, realizing your dreams, Linda? That's guy.
Amazing. I love that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Cool.
Awesome. Today's semi-quarantine cocktail. You know what this is all about. This is silly things from the news with a drink. This is called An Abundance of Animals. It's a riff on the salty raccoon cocktail. You're going to need 1.5 ounces of Blanco tequila, 33 sewer tunnels in Gainesville, Florida, a little bit of rosemary syrup, 39 cameras in those 33 tunnels for 60 days, 1 ounce of fresh lime juice. Those cameras, my friends, picked up 3,800 animal sightings in the sewers. 35 different species of animals in those sewers. Most of those were raccoons. There were 1,800 raccoon sightings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the gator thing, that's true too. Lots of gators. Gators and raccoons in the sewer tunnels in Gainesville, Florida. A little sprig of rosemary there for garnish. Researchers, when they were asked about this study, they were surprised at what they called an abundance of animals. Thank you, Linda, for being here today. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. This has been a fantastic conversation, and I can envision a part 2 sometime at the Q3, Q4 part of this year. Thanks, Linda. Thanks, everybody. Let's have a good dinner. We'll see you next week.
Thank you so much for joining us today. If you had a good time and learned a thing or two at today's happy hour, please share it with your friends. If you want to join our tribe, head on over to skyeteam.cloud/TCB or email us at info@skyeteam.com. That's SKYE team.com. Thanks again, and remember, you've always got friends at the Corporate Bartender.